how to know if your spouse is cheating, and pouring your finances to other people. All right, that's one. And then the other one is actually let's keep it there. Let's just keep it there. That's a really deep one. We're not gonna go too much. I'm very overboard. So if I get women on my channel, which I'm pretty sure I do, I speak to emperors because that's just who I speak to. Because I'm an emperor, but I also speak to emperor isn't just male. Emperor is the healed masculine part of you. In order for you to step into that divine emperor status, it does require you to have a balance with your feminine status. So because I lead, because I run businesses, I'm kind of more a lot of times executing in my masculine, but I receive in my yang, my feminine. So I speak to the part of you that stands up and take charge, whether you're man or woman. And actually, everything I'm guiding men on is what I kind of went through as a woman, because women can deal with gold diggers as well. So don't think I'm just speaking for one, but hey, that's just my audience right now. But anyway, so emperors, let me tell you a situation I went through. I went through a situation before, actually plenty of times, but we go through stuff not because so we can say we're a victim to it. We go through it so we can see our patterns and what we need to stop doing, and how that's revealed is by what others do to us because of what we allow them to do. So it's not here to put anything against us, but you guys are not stepping into your full potential, and you're not going to until you figure out what is siphoning from your potential. But not only that, what you are allowing to do that. So yeah, I might sit here and say, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that, but you're allowing that. And I'm here to help you no longer allow that. And the byproduct of that should be you choosing yourself. So let's begin. All right, so usually what happens, and yes, it's very evil, but like I said, it's not about believing or not and spiritual. It's like everything that happens in the physical is because of what's happening spiritually. So let's say this: high value men are attacked. The attack is on high value men. Okay, high value men. And like I told you before, if you watch that, I forgot what it was called. um are you the rescuer, the rescuer? I think that, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The true attack wasn't on Eve being manipulated. It was on how men looked at women, and then thereon you see how men treated women. So the true attack was on men, so they wouldn't receive, because they were meant to receive in the feminine aspect, and then build off of what they received from love. But the war was to make men producers and to build the empire. But anyway, so what happens with high value men? If someone sees a high value man, and what is a high value man? Someone who works hard, works hard. Someone who produces effortlessly. Someone who takes care of themselves with self care. What else? Someone with ideas. Someone who has the capacity to give love. So what happens? Someone sees that, I said gold digger. Someone wants you to provide for them. And that, I'm gonna put something else. Sensitive. You might hide this, but you're sensitive. Even if you don't show it, you're sensitive. So, if someone comes into your life, usually their relationship is really great from the beginning. You guys meet at a certain level because I'm telling you this as well. Even if someone tries to fake who they are or paint an illusion of who they are and they come in, it doesn't matter. At some way, energetically, you guys match. Let me tell you how I attracted like this in a male. I was in a space into my life where I was like extremely sad and alone, and I just kind of felt like I needed like a protector. That's what I felt. And so I was like, man, I was actually intentionally manifesting a soulmate. I was like doing all the manifestation work to manifest a soulmate. And I was actually at that time very insecure, but insecure not as far as like me. I'm a very attractive woman. So no, I was just insecure about safety because I went through a lot of different stuff at that time. So I felt like I needed like a protector. And then I wasn't really like trusting my judgment and things like that. So what else about me? And then I felt like I needed love because I just felt like that was always withheld from me. I feel like that was withheld from me with family, just people loving me authentically, even if I fuck up. Just love me, you know, like that's like true love. That's what I want. But for me, I was shunned. If I did something like wrong, I wasn't invited to holidays. I wasn't invited to Thanksgiving. Even like I went through like my daughter's childbirth without my family because I got into like some legal trouble. I was like cut off from the family. And I did something, I was super angry and I like wrote like a letter to like my family and stuff like that. I was like I was so depressed from being just cut off, you know? And I just wanted someone who wouldn't leave even if like I fuck up. That's what I wanted. So anyway, so I felt like I was less because I didn't have that. That's what I felt. I said I felt like I was less because I didn't have that. I felt like I will be okay as long as I have my person. But what did I manifest? I manifested someone who was, now mind you, I work very hard. So me, I'm not a gold digger, but I'm a giver. And I'm an overgiver. And the part about me is I overgave sometimes just for people to like stay. I would just kind of like just do so much because I feared them leaving me. I feared them like cutting me off. So what did I attract? I attracted a person who felt like he needed a over nurturer, a mama, to come take care of him and help clean up his stuff and to pour into him. I attracted someone with mom issues because that's what I had. I had mom issues, but he didn't want to give. He wanted to just keep receiving from someone. So, and since when we met, we were an energetic match some way because in some way we were both at like low parts of our lives. You know, I was just like I was actually doing really well financially. I was doing really well. But but I felt like I would do better with the person. I was depressed. So it was a trauma bond. He was telling me that he was going through stuff with his wife being abusive, all the other stuff. He's going through like a divorce. He was going through like all that stuff. And listen, let me tell you one thing. I was wrong. This man was like telling me that like he was in the middle of a divorce, all this other stuff, and that they were like separated. I allowed myself to deal with someone going through that. So I'm not gonna like lie about the stuff that I did. Like he wasn't fully divorced, you know, and that was the first time I've ever kind of did something like that. But I'm gonna tell you how that got sicker down the road. So like it was like we sleep in like two separate rooms, he's moving out, and then all this other stuff, and then I ended up helping this guy leave his house, get a new house. I'm thinking that I need a protector. I get into a situation where I'm like so I don't know. And I ended up pouring into this person. So let me tell you something. So what happens is when you and this person first come into each other's life, this is where we got to take accountability. you guys first come in as an energetic match. So that might not be the case for everyone else. All right. You guys may fall in love and it's not like that. And what a lot of women do is like a lot of men like to feel needed. So you might see someone who you can like provide for men in your area, and then that woman will make you feel good because you're providing. So it makes you feel like you're needed. You feel good, and then they want you to feel that way because now what? And you should feel that way. A man should want to provide for his wife. A man should want to do that. But if you're doing that because it makes you feel secure, and you don't just do that because you're the man, those are two completely different vibrations and signals that you're sending out. You're either just a provider or you're someone that's providing to feel needed. So the part of you that provides to feel needed will attract someone who wants someone to provide for them, and all they got to do is make them feel needed by having sex with you, telling you what you want to hear. But what happens with this situation here? So what happened with me was this person was lying. I was like, so, well, I have, how I'm resourceful is I just know how to turn water into the wine. So this person was looking like busted when I met him. I wasn't even attracted to this person. So I don't even know. Like it came off as like pity at first, because the person first came into my life acting like some investor, and then when I started, I don't know, he he I that's when I first started becoming like openly spiritual and stuff like that. So I was very scared. And that's why I felt like I needed the protector anyway. I was very scared around that time. I was like scared of a lot of stuff because I didn't know nothing about spirituality. I didn't know nothing. I was never taught that stuff. So he came in and he saw that I was scared. So he tried to pretend to be a spiritual protector. But what he was doing was to keep me in that frequency of needing him, because I didn't need him financially. I didn't need him for anything else. I mean, I build companies. I don't need anyone to do that. But to keep me in the frequency of needing him, okay? Because he also, since we talked, I got to exchange my abandonment wounds. Like, he got to learn my family wounds. Like, and by the way, I was very naive. But this is how, like I told you, I needed to go to this lesson with this person to see what type of signal I was broadcasting, to see why I'm attracting shit like this. It was all a lesson about me. Anyways, so when we met, I started like telling him, just about the spiritual stuff that I was going through a little bit. Like, I was going through a full blown awakening, and then I was also looking for an investor, because what I'm doing right now with speaking, I built a whole big production for it then, but I was not ready. I was like, and I had like 3 other businesses. I was like, look, I just need an investor to help me, like, and this is where I was dumb saying this too, but I thought he was an investor because he came from a referral. But anyways, so I was like, listen, I was like, I just need someone to like just help me just with the resources that I need to make this stuff multiply. But I wish I didn't do that, because if I know what I knew now, I actually had everything that I needed. But anyway, so that ended up him telling me that I'm under a spiritual attack. I'm being like he had me looking over my shoulder. It was bad. So when, mind you, I'm like not really knowing a lot about spirituality. This guy was coming in like he's like a spiritual guru, and how he found his way in. And because I kept saying I needed a protector, I manifest someone trying to be a protector, but he was creating illusions for me to feel like I needed him. But in return, he was taking from me my resources, my finances to build his life. But in order for him to be needed in my life, he has to make me be freaking scared of everything around me. So anyways, you guys, my story is a little different, but it's going to come all together. So anyways, so for you guys, how you guys met is you like feeling needed. You like providing. I don't know. It does something to you. That's what I feel. I don't even gotta channel the cards. I'm gonna do it in a second. I'm gonna figure out what they're doing to you behind your back. Anyway, so you have to first understand is how you connected with that person. So if you connected with a woman who is whole, she's gonna already be someone who can take care of herself, and you're someone that can still take care of her too. But she doesn't need you to do that. That's just what comes with it. That's just the dynamics of the relationship. But women who search for men who just want to keep providing, if they can find in you, like let's say if you say man in the past, like the worst thing you could say to a woman is man in the past, my last girl didn't appreciate me. And then she's gonna be like, oh, so all I gotta do is show you appreciation for you to keep doing it. I bet. You know? So that's what happens. So with my situation was this guy gave me like my first like spiritual bath and things like that. And then it's like I started to feel better. But it was just like looking at it now, all the stuff he was telling me I was scared of, that was all an illusion. You was getting in my head. It was getting in my subconscious. So the exchange for whatever protection he gave me, what did I do? I felt grateful. So what do you do when you get that woman? You start feeling like, man, I finally got a good one. She's effing me good. She's loving on me good. She's doing all this. Man, I'm going to go work harder. So me, I'm like, dang, I don't want this spiritual protection to go away. I don't want my protection to go away. I feel like I manifested, because I felt like I manifested what I needed. But what happens is if you feel like you lack something, something external will come in to try to fulfill what you believe that you lack within you. You feel me? So for me, what he needed was a little mommy. I'm a nurturer. Like I care. So with this guy, his stuff was shit. He kept saying, oh, you know, his like wife did his stuff when they were together, and then she just stopped investing in him and things like that. So I was like, all right, cool, it's a little partnership. You know, you're offering me this, so I got a team. Brand. So I had one of my guys and me. We did a photo shoot for this man. We built his website. I ended up helping him get into a home, and I did it a way because he couldn't get approved. I did it a way to where I used to kind of like get myself approved because I couldn't get approved. And then I'm gonna tell you how that was used against me afterwards. So, anyways, I got him approved for a home, and got him in, and he was out that situation. He actually told me that his ex was some type of like dark witch who was like doing stuff to him, you know, and he used that because I was starting to get scared. I was scared of all that stuff. I was scared of all that stuff. Like I just started like becoming awake to all this stuff. You know, I was just like, so when he told me that, I was just, and then he was telling me that someone did that to me. I was like, I'm telling you, I was scared. But I felt like it was a cool investment. I was like, I got someone who can kind of help me with this so I can focus. And then I wasn't really feeling alone. I felt alone at that time too. And then, but what happened? I was pouring into this person here, you know? And then later on down the road, what I found out was he was using his ex money to like do stuff for me. And then he was using everything that I was helping him with, like helped him get approved for like food stamps and stuff. All I was helping him with just so much. He was doing that and acting like he built this success by himself. And he wasn't even divorcing his wife. He wasn't even doing that, you know, the whole time. So it's like a little months later when I found that out, I was like, peace. But anyways, but it took me I was really hurt when that stuff happened because it was a wake up call. But I was able to kind of leave it because I saw how it was. I seen me. So anyways, let me go back. So what happened was this person wanted to like keep me kind of attached to him so I could keep giving to him. So what do? They try to keep you at a low frequency. So what did he have to do to keep himself useful in my life? Because mind you, I was doing well. I had like a photography business, a marketing business. I managed all my kids by myself. I left my ex, moved far away from him because he was just abusive, you know. And I was doing really well. I was like weddings. I was shooting colleges. I was just doing well. But then when I was around this dude, I kept getting sabotaged. And so he kept he kept manufacturing situations to where he'll be needed, so I'll keep giving to him. Dude, I was so scared of a lot of stuff, and he was helping me so much. Dude, I was paying this dude's rent. And this dude was like 20 years older than me. I don't know. I was in that much fear over the course of that much time. He had me so afraid of the world to where he just made me feel like I had, like, it was like a burn the witch thing that's about to come on, because he saw how spiritually gifted that I am. But during that time, we connected because of a frequency of me needing a protector, of me feeling fearful of things going on. And when he saw that, and he saw that I wasn't really connected with my family, when he saw all of those things, he took advantage. So with you, this person, what women do is when they see that they got you, and how, and they get you to the point to where they're validating you by being so a good wife to you, or being a good girlfriend to you, or just doing the things that you like, they're validating you. They got to keep you in a vibration to where you constantly need validation. And what do you want? You don't want someone like that to leave. So what do? You keep working your ass off and going to provide. But what do? They now are going to, they're now pouring into other men to receive from them. But what are they doing? They're acting like they have it all together by themselves, that they're independent by themselves. And then they use what you're giving them. So what happened with this man, what I was doing? Dude, it was so bad. I rebranded him, like, and don't judge me. Like I said, I was very naive. So it is what it is. I've been judged a lot, but I was naive. Like mommy issues, daddy issues, all of that stuff, you know? So what happened with me was, like, what did I do? I can see something broken and like make it look better. So I rebranded him. I like did his photography, his websites, his marketing, just everything, because at that point we were supposed to be partners and that was supposed to come back to me. But no, he was building that for himself and showing to everyone else that this was his stuff. He wasn't even like telling people who I am. So blocking people from, like, the goal was for him to kind of be out, like, all right, cool, you got all these connections, and like show people what I can do, you know? So I'll show what I can do with you, and then you bring me some connections so I can like make more money and I can get a good deal. He wasn't doing that. And then he ended up like just paying somebody else to kind of redo what I did so it could look like I had no parts, and then tarnish my reputation to everyone, you know, so I could look like someone who wasn't shit. And that way, everything that I did to help him, it would look like I helped her, and it is what it is. So, what happens with your relationships are, in order for, in order for that person to keep taking from you, they got to keep you in a low frequency. So, what do? They start making you feel less of a man. They start bringing up how someone in your past treated you, and then they start acting as if they're going to leave. Why? So you can keep pouring in. But what it does is they can only manipulate you if you're in some way not feeling good about yourself, because that was the vibration they met you. So this person has to have me in a vibration of being a failure. He has to have me in a vibration of me being overlooked. He has to have me in a vibration of me trying to earn people's validation, because he wanted me to earn his. But what he didn't understand was I already went through that with my exes. So when I came to him, I was I was a bit of a graduate at that point. But the thing was I didn't look at him as a protector. I was actually a bit kind of scared of him then. You know, he had like a huge knife in his car. It was like a huge knife in his car. And I was like, if I started seeing, and that's when my gifts started getting really heightened. I started kind of seeing like who this man is. And then I started, his wife, like social media attacked me saying that I know it was so much stuff going on. And so I started seeing that everything he said about her, she was saying about him. She told me that he did stuff to her food. She had told me that he was physically abusive, everything that he said that she was. And I was very quiet about this. I was like, yo, what is going on here? So that's when I realized, like, yo, this man's a con. Like, basically, I built everything for him. I was paying all his stuff. So how I started breaking away was that I started like putting money away, you know. But here's the thing, it was more than that, and I didn't know what I was doing until now, because like I said, was I didn't really learn my gifts and how powerful my gifts were until now. Going back, I can see what I did and how I subconsciously was saving myself, because my spirit is very advanced, you know, but my mind had to pick truths from what he was saying, because dude, like, this man had me like not leaving the house. Like, I was kind of afraid because of what he was telling me about my gifts and stuff, you know. And then I started kind of getting scared of him, and around that time, you know, I didn't have a car, so I was relying on him for like a vehicle to get around. So at that point I was kind of like saving myself. So anyways, so I started seeing that everything I was pouring into him, he was pouring into like other people, like other women. And then at that point, it was like he wanted me to fight for him versus like his wife. And I'm not doing that. It's like, there was one time to where there was like an altercation to where the wife came up to me, and like it was like he was right there like wanting that to happen. That's when I really started seeing this person's true colors. Like, he wanted me to like battle over him. So in my mind, when I was going through that, it was like I was daydreaming of like a whole nother life. I was daydreaming, and I was I was just saving money. I started saving money, you know, and I was daydreaming about a completely different life. And then, and I'm going to talk to you, and I kind of talked to you about that in the physics lessons, how when your attention goes to, let me see, my bad, I don't want to show you these other notes, because this is the lesson that I'm about to teach you guys, which is dynamic as shit. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it hurt my head what it was doing. But anyways, let me show you guys so what I was doing, um so yeah, so at a quantum level, I was talking about particles don't exist as fixed things until they're observed. Before observation, they exist as a field of probabilities. So the act of measurement of perceiving is what collapses the field of possibilities. I don't know. So at that point, when I started just daydreaming of another life. I was like, I don't feel like this person depends on me so much. I was very like smart. I'm very smart, but I don't show this. I was like, if I try to leave right now, and then I was already living like in the same neighborhood as him, I was like that close. I helped his son get approved to go to the school where my daughter was at. I was like, leaving, it's gonna take a little bit of strategy, you know. So when now mind you, at that point I was still kind of fearful because of all the stuff he had put into my head. So when I tried to like leave him and stuff, I remember I called like my child's father. I was like, yo, this dude is nuts and things like that. My child's father and him was communicating. After I called my child's father about that, my child's father called to put me in a mental institute. And that's how that situation ended. And I'm here now. I'm still alive. People's plans still didn't work. And I'll get into that a whole nother time. So that's how all that stuff happened, you know? And but God led me out of that, and it did take me going through a lot of other stuff, because I couldn't trust my child's father, because he then won't take my kids from me and all this other stuff. But going back to this situation was, this is how women do it too. What women do is they keep you in a low frequency. So what do? They'll emotionally abuse you. All that stuff. Why? Because you have to keep pouring into them, because they're only able to attract other high value men with your energy. The person isn't a high value person. So me, I'm a very high valuable person, but I didn't know my worth when he came in, and he knew that. He wasn't attracting the type of people he was attracting before he met me. But what happened? I poured so much into him genuinely with love. That's why they trauma bond with you, because they want you to do what you do. It ain't just like you just pouring into girls, giving out money. They want you to either pour out from a wound or pour out from love, because both of those things are powerful. If you're pouring out from a wound, then you're pouring out from yourself because you believe that you lack. And if you're pouring from love, that's even higher, because what? That's God frequency. So that's why they either try to trauma bond with you, try to pity you into pouring into them, or they try to so-called match you with love. But either way, they try to come in with somewhere that you felt lack before, so they can feel like the surplus, so they can feel like the prize, so they can feel like the blessing. And then you start building them up. And then once they're built up, they then go out and try to attract more from your energy. So with me, I branded him, dude. I got him clothes. I was just manipulated to so much. I got him completely. This dude was literally, when I first met him, talking about him and his wife sleep in separate rooms. He does all the taking care of the baby. I didn't know he was a bum, not working, and she was doing everything. I didn't even know that. You know? What do? I built him a whole company because I thought he was an investor, but he wasn't. I built him a whole like finance front business. Helped him get like food stamps, helped him even get freaking Medicaid, helped his son get approved for childcare so he's not watching his son all day, introduced him to my whole team. We all worked together to brand him, and he didn't pay nothing for it. I was literally giving because I cared. And then everything that I built helped him attract everything else. And guess what? The goal was for him to pour back into me. I was just taken from, and then left with a tarnished reputation. And that's how people steal your energy. That's why you see a lot of people get into relationships and they look like shit afterwards, because they take all that love and energy from you and they put it elsewhere and they throw you away. But luckily, this person didn't realize that when you're a high value person, you know how to produce, even if you come down to a zero. But that requires you to heal. But those people, they can't sustain that. So what do? They hop to the next person and the next person and the next person. And that's why they have to take from multiple people at one time, because God will only allow them to come into your life to show you yourself. God ain't gonna let them like kill. Sometimes what they do is people like take themselves, because they feel so worthless. So that's why with you, I'm gonna get into how you spot this. With you, this person doesn't just want you. They need to keep fueling themselves. They have to keep taking from you, but you can only produce so much. And then what they do is they take from other people, so those people are pouring into them too at the same time. And what they do is a lot of these women try to save up, so because they know it ain't gonna last forever. So when you do know, they can move on and go to the next ones. But they only do that for high, abundant, and value men, because God is within you and you give out of love. But a lot of you guys have been traumatized as kids and you're still pouring out from that wound. So you're an over provider, or you're someone that blocks your heart and just give, but that's still from a wound. So for me, I had to learn that, because I attracted that with my kids' fathers too. I attracted these men with mommy issues. And I would come in and fix everything up. And then once they're all fixed up, they would give that energy and show themselves as good and go be with a whole bunch of other people. And then just leave me. Or they will keep me, but I'll be at a low frequency. That was my cycle. And I had to learn that lesson with this man. And once I left, I never looked back, because it got so bad to where, listen, for him to keep me at a low frequency, I stopped giving to him. I stopped building for him. So guess what he did as a final attempt to get me to chase him? He put his hands on me. He put his freaking hands on me. And once that was done, I was gone. Cause don't mind you, I was already in like a fearful state because he already had me in that. But then I was like, the person who I thought was my friend protecting me is now the enemy too. I didn't really know what direction to run in. You know, I already was. And he did that because he knew I wasn't close with family. He knew that. And that's how a lot of women get caught in stuff, because they come for women or people who already don't have a support system. So you will have no one to run into for help. So he knew I had no men in my life who were protective of me. He knew my trauma. He knew that I went through so much trauma with men to where I had no men who just stood up for me. So he knew if he did that, that no one would stand up for me. So with this person here, with you men, what they do is they try to make you feel bad and make it feel like it's your fault, because this is what happens in every relationship to you. So you're not man enough to keep a woman, or you're not rich enough. But guess what? God is not going to allow you to produce more with this person. He loves you. He wants this person to get to you so much to the point to where you choose yourself and you say F it. And how he will do it is then you go through a divorce case. And then you guys are battling money. He's going to ask you, do you trust yourself enough to make that again? Do you see yourself that you're the producer? So what's going to happen is the person who's going to try to go through divorce with you is going to try to take your money and stuff. And then what's going to happen is you're going to be back and forth fighting. And I hate to say this, but the test is, do you love yourself enough to like let the money go? Because guess what? If they take the money right now, that's it. They got to burn through that. And they will burn through that, because you're not going to be a source that keeps pouring into them. But that's when you love yourself enough to trust that you can rebuild that, because that's when you see who you were the whole time. So after I went through that situation with this man, I got, after that, it wasn't easy. Guess what it was for me? I was completely sabotaged, to where he went to my family, told lies about me. People all started saying that I'm mentally crazy, all this other stuff that I feel like that it was so much, because guess what? In order for him to keep producing, he had to make it believe to other people that he did that all by himself, and that I was nothing, and that I was the problem. Because guess what? Since he couldn't keep taking from me anymore, I was the supplier for his success. So what did he have to say? Once I'm gone, what's going to happen? There's going to be a decline. Once you're gone, that's why a lot of other people try to have other people in their lives, because they know when one is gone, they need other sources to pull from. And so for me, if I was that much of a support for him in that, which is why it got so drastic to where he put his hands on me after, if I was that much of a support and I leave, here's the thing, how will he sustain that? So someone's going to have to give a sob story to where he's doing bad because of the source, which is still true in a way. He is doing bad because his source left, but he has to reverse that lie. He's only able to anchor it with some truth. That's why people were able to believe that stuff. He is doing a little worse because I'm not there. But he made it look like because I sabotaged him, he's doing worse. No. Shit, let me make sure my mic is on. Okay, good. He's doing worse because I left. He's doing worse because I'm not fueling him. And he was only able to keep attracting other people. So guess what? He still gets to attract other people off of my energy. But it's only if my image matches what he set out for it to be. Worthless, crazy, all that stuff. So now people, guess what? The same thing that he did for me, now he trauma bonds with everyone else, and they pour into him from pity. The same way that I poured into him from pity. What? His wife attacking him. What? His wife poisoning him. His wife putting magic on him. His wife doing all that stuff. Like, he's under attack. So now, because my energy was so abundant, he was able to get me with that one stuff. But now, since I helped him so much, he can use that same lie and get everyone to see the same thing. So what happens? He partners with my kid's dad, and then they try to put me in a mental institute, and then they all get under my family skin, and now everyone thinks the same big story. But what does God show me? Look at how powerful you are. If you can freaking if you failing can cause a whole community of people to turn against you, then what happens when you succeed? So I had to love myself despite everything. And God showed me it's going to get harder this time, because now I'm going to show you who you really are. But you know what? I'm not going to show you with one person, because that wasn't enough for your little stubborn ass. Yeah, I'm stubborn. For you to see who you are. So you want to know what? I'm going to let everyone come who isn't for you. I'm going to let them all see how powerful you are with this lie. Because that's how strong the manipulation was to get you to not love yourself. And I need for you to see yourself. So I'm going to let you see yourself with how many people can see who you aren't. And I have to go through that. And you're going to have to go through that. You're going to have to go through whatever you lose in this situation here. If that means your reputation, if that means your money, if that means, because I have to go through that. But what did I see throughout all of that? I saw that I am worthy. I am a good person, and I can produce, and I can sustain, and I could teach myself spiritual. I have to teach myself. A lot of the people that this man turned against me were actually people that were supposed to help me understand the spirituality, but I had to learn it myself. So he showed me whoever this lie hits has a similar wound to him. So God will literally use the enemy to do a domino effect, an ultimate chess move on your enemies. And not even your enemy, but just other people who vibrate at the frequency that he did, so that they could heal too. Yeah. Anyways, so for you, my brother, my friend, my sister, whoever's listening to this, I'm just talking, hopefully it hits the right person. How to spot it. So, what you're going to do is this. I'm going to give you a little play. This is what you're going to do. You are going to start imagining your new life, because you got to put your attention to it. So the first thing is to create that new life. Whatever you start imagining, imagine that. So 1, imagine your new life. Imagine a version of you who's respected, who's loved, and who gives. I'm not saying if you're a giver, you're a giver, but who gives to someone who deserves it and who gives back. Imagine imagine that version of you who no longer settles. Imagine a version of you who chooses yourself. Imagine that version of you. Okay? Now, imagine that, because you got to bring attention to that life. Bring attention to it. So yeah, imagine that person not in that life. However, now you can't get mad at how it happened. So for me, it took me speaking up about it, family trying to put me in a mental institute, people all trying to take my kids, me going through a freaking custody battle over some BS, me going through all this stuff. It took me going through all that, because you can't, when you want that new life, that doesn't include people who hurt you. However, the cards fall is how they fall, and honestly, for me, it felt pretty bad. It felt pretty bad. But you gotta imagine that life. And you gotta release control of how it comes. And then you take action into that new life. So what I started doing, I started pouring money into savings. So you start funding that new life. You start putting money away for it. Because guess what? Now that reality is now in the physical. It's not just in your head. So you start putting money away from intentionally. Have like a savings account. Have something for that new life. And you do it in a way to where it's protected and it's hidden, and you pray over it. And guess what? You keep that life silent because the enemy can't touch you where it doesn't know. You understand? You keep that life silent. You pour into it. You got to fund it some way. You have to keep, guess what? That pure reality has to compete with the false reality now. And guess what? One that is pure out of love will always have dominance over something that is fragmented. I'm telling you. So you start funding that reality. Now, in the present, you become. You don't wait until you have the money. You don't wait for the confirmation. You make that a reality now. So guess what you start doing? You acknowledge yourself, the version of you that attracted that. You understand? The way that I got that guy into that home, I had to like do some stuff. I had to like manipulate some paperwork. I'm very honest about stuff I did before. Guess what? That was used against me afterwards, you know? And guess what? I'm happy that I did that because I never have to do that again. Because I shouldn't have done that. But I really wanted to help someone, you know? But I also realized, if I do that again, that could be used against me. So I have to take an L with finding the easy way to get stuff before. So me doing that for someone else, I never did that again. I have to find another way that wouldn't keep me in that frequency in any way. I didn't want to be any version of myself that I was when I was with that person, And it was crazy. When I did that for him, I was scared to do that because I was like, yo, I can get in trouble for this. I was like, I can get in really big trouble for that. I already got in trouble in my past, but I wanted to help this person, so I did that for him. I did a favor for him. And come to find out, it was like, this man was a freaking, this man was not a good person. But anyways, let's keep going. So you have to become. So any way that you were in that frequency when you got this person, you can't be anymore. You can't be that. You understand? So me, I couldn't be someone who like sought a protector. I had to be my own protector. I had to be wiser. I had to watch what I tell people. Watch how open I am to people. I had to I'm a really big asset. I had to know my worth. That's just it. I had to know who I was inside and what I could bring to anyone. Every version of me that didn't see that about me when I attracted this person, I chose to see it. And that means seeing the dark parts of me. And then it had to go back and see the parts of me, the past relationships that made me even have that mindset too. So I had to become. So for you, what do you got to do? You got to be a little bit more stingy with your money. Expect to receive now and start saying no. Now, mind you, this is what happens when you start saying no. So now you start to resist the reality. You start to resist that current reality that you live in requires for you. And that's why I say become first, because that's internal. The second part is resist. So once you kind of see within yourself the version of you that did that, number 4 is resist that reality. So you're choosing the other reality. So you exist already in that reality, but this other reality already existed. Why? Because guess what? You've been pouring into her, and this person's been pouring into other people. So guess what? In order for her to maintain that energy of pouring into other people, she has to keep pulling from you. So you resist it by not pouring in. Okay? So once you start resisting it, 5, you see, you observe. Now, whatever reason, now listen, every day you have to actively do this. You can't like take your attention off of it, because for the other reality to truly come in, you have to keep your attention on it, but you want to keep your mind on it, your imagination, thinking the best of that reality. You want to keep funding it, and you want to keep funding it because guess what? There's going to be a push and pull on your money. You got to prepare. Listen, for me, I was sabotaged. So this man cost me businesses, job. I went through poverty. I went through like a lot of stuff. I wasn't prepared for what I went through. The only reason I'm able to teach you this stuff is because I went through it. Put money away. Find a way to put it away to where this person can't get it or have access to it. Be smart. Think. Think about if you went through any type of divorce stuff or whatever, could she take it? Think about that stuff. Be smart. All right? But anyways, so then you resist it. So you stop giving to it. So now when you see, if you observe, this is where it gets hard. Her goal now, you because you are going through this now, you're now not at the frequency you met her. So you're gonna start seeing her for who she is. You're gonna see that little demon come out. And you got, I told you, when I stopped giving, this man put his hands on me. You know? So for you, you got to be prepared to see the demon that's been harvesting from you. You understand? You got to be prepared for that. So you got to be prepared also not to react. So I'm going to tell you why. So what happens is she needs to get you back to that low frequency. She needs to get you chasing her validation. She needs to get you. So what happens is abuse comes in. Sometimes it's mainly verbal. It starts off with verbal abuse, then it starts off with physical abuse. Okay, physical abuse. Now, so once those types of abuses come in, now you see, if she can't take your money, she needs to take your energy. Okay, and how is that? She needs to keep you in like a low frequency. Okay, so because what's going to happen here is this. She needs to now figure out a way that she can get to you. So what happens is, and this is very bad, but hopefully she's not an evil high priestess, because what they do then is they pay people to do like some love magic. And then what happens is, if they could get you at a low frequency of anger or whatever, you're at a frequency with her, they can get into bed with you. And they can pay people to do some energy work, like love magic, to like, it's called like come to me spells, or they put stuff in your food. Now mind you, let me go back. When you start to see and observe, you have to cut off some stuff with this person. And you gotta be prepared for that. You gotta cut off eating from the person. Eating, and you gotta cut off sex. Cut those out. Cut them out. Because people go to drastic measure, and it's nothing to go on TikTok and pay someone to do this. If you go back, they can only do this to you if you're at some way an energetic level of when that contract was created, when that tie was made. So if they get you angry, you don't even have to have sex. If they can get you angry at a low frequency, then they can say, hey, can you do a love spell on my husband? You know, he's trying to leave me or whatever too. And what that does is, when someone does that to your energy, because that's all low vibrational, any good feeling that you had about that person before will be heightened. And then you will start to like overlook the bad stuff, and you'll be like, that's why people be like, well, he did this, but but he still did this. I'm gonna get another chance. But that's what happens. You start looking at whatever other good qualities about that person, and it gets heightened, and then they can get you in bed, and that's when they can do SCX magic to you. But in order for that type of stuff to work, you got to be at low frequency. So you got to keep a note to like, not just, I'm telling you, you got to be ready. So even while you're like having an argument or whatever, you got to know where you can tap into in your mind. It's not escapism, it's active creation. So why do you do that? Because they want you to get angry and exert energy back to them. So what? They can at least bind you in an assault case, bind you in something else, keep you guys bound together under. So if you like fight someone or hit someone while you're angry, then there's now a case that was made from that energy. So you're bound in that energy. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to be bound to anyone. So whenever you're angry, guess what you do? You go put money into that funding account. You even use the anger for yourself. You go back to your imagination on that life. And if you like want sex, you like do it to yourself, but you imagine that reality. Because guess what? It's like you use what I'm telling you. People want you angry, and that's why makeup sex is so not good, because then you're pouring that anger back into that person. But if you if you're angry and you want to get some, you give that to yourself while you're imagining that reality. So you're using what they want to use on you for yourself. And I'm just telling you the truth about it because it happens regardless. So you use stuff for yourself. If you play with yourself, you're going to play with yourself imagining that reality. I please listen, this is for grown-ups only. So please, like, listen, I'm just telling you because listen, men, this is what these women do. And men, I'm telling you, he was doing that too. I don't know how I even was intimate with this person. Like, first of all, he was separated already. I've never done that before. I don't do that before. And I was in no way attracted to him. And I ended up making him look like my ideal person. I'm telling you, like his wife even told me that he did stuff to her food and to his mama's food. This dude was always cooking, and I somewhat was like into someone who I'm not into. But what I was able to be pulled in was pity because I got a big heart. But that's why when I saw clearly, I was able to be like, yo, why the heck am I even dealing with you? You guys gotta see this episode really spiritual, you know what I'm saying? But but what I was dealing with him was a part of me who didn't have a dad. I really craved like in a man, like I expect my man to be strong. Like I want a protector, but I don't want that because I felt I lack that. I just want that. Like I've dealt with nothing but weak men. I want a man who don't tolerate shit or don't play about that, and I want my friend group to be the same way. He tried to do that by creating issues for me to be fearful of. But when he put his hands on me, that was it. I saw him as an enemy. He thought that I would like be all shook and things like that. No, it's like once I saw that he was the enemy and I need to be protected from him, it was like that was it. And I was so deep into like it was like a year of this person putting stuff in my head. I had to fight my way out of that. I had to see like what was in front of me. I'm telling you, that demon came out of that person. you know so anyway, so what happens is they want you to either stay out of fear or whatever. But anyways, to go back to observe, so you observe what you are dealing with in that person, but every time you get angry, what do? You fund that new reality. You fund it, you imagine it, you please yourself to that new reality. That reality has to be where your mind goes, and that's something that you can protect yourself from this person. So after that, you then break the contract. So that means you break up. But now listen, no, you want evidence first. I told you how to know if that person's cheating. So let me tell you this. So this person was only confident to go to these other people because you were the source. So now you're no longer giving to this person. This person thinks you're going to make up. This person thinks you're not going to go anywhere. I promise you, you'll have to be the one to initiate the breakup. They're not going to do it. I promise you, they won't. They won't do it. They don't want to leave you. They gain so much from you. But now this person knows that you might leave. So they're going to try to get smart and, figure out a plan to save themselves. So that person that I was with, he had to make sure that everyone thought I looked crazy. So he part of my baby dad, and they did this whole thing, and he was even like working with like my mom. They were all working together to put me away for bigger issues that I'm still uncovering, which I'll get into another stuff. But and it just shows you how much other people in my family were benefiting from me too, where this whole narrative had to play out some way, and which is what I will get into later. Another lesson I'll teach you guys, which I will probably talk about that. But anyway, so this guy, he knew I was going, he knew I wasn't pouring into him. He knew that he needed me to keep being this person for him to keep attracting what he was attracting. So, what did this person start doing? He started, okay, well, how am I going to keep these people or make them pour into me when this person's gone? I have to be the villain in this story. I have to be the villain. So everyone would what? Save them! So for you, what happens? You're the villain now. So now they're going to go to these other people to pour into them more because they're what, going through something with you, or they might lie and say you're abusive, or they might use your past against you. So yeah, if you did anything bad in your past with this person, be prepared for it to be used against you. You have to be the villain in this person's story. This is why people go through character assassination, but it's okay. It's gonna all balance out. So anyway, so around that time, you can kind of see who she goes to. You can kind of see who she goes to. That's when you can kind of catch someone. But you don't let this person know, because she doesn't think you know. She just thinks that you're doing something for whatever reason. Never bring up it's because they're cheating. Just stop. Just stop. Okay? When I stopped, I started seeing the truth that this person and his wife was never going to separate. That he was just using me, like he was going through a little downfall so I could help him, but he was using me to look better to get his wife back. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then to deal with, and then to catch other, then to be with other women. Like, it was crazy. Like I said, the enemy is clever. But anyways, once you start doing that and you don't pour into that, you're pouring into the other reality. Guess what? That reality actually exists because you're already funding it. You just haven't met the coordinates of that reality yet. The only difference between you and that reality is the coordinates and then the severing of that relationship. So now, this person, you're going to start figuring out what this person's actually doing. Okay? Because now they're going to do it more. Because they need that energy now. Now they're going to do it more. They need to know who their next target is going to be. So this is where you can find out. Now, however you find out, I'm about to teach you how to spy on your ex, or spy on your wife, spy on your husband. Just go, you can find out. It's going to be obvious. Because guess what? How they did it was obvious. You just didn't believe that they would do that, so you didn't look. It's always done in plain sight. So now, see the obvious. And now, so if you're someone who always went away, go away. But make them think that you went away. See what happens. See what happens around the time that you really go and work your ass off for this person, what they're doing. Anyways. So, once you confirm that, you do the divorce. Or you do the breakup. Or you just leave. Hopefully you're not married and you can just like leave the person. You leave. Then what happens is, so if you do the divorce, you're battling money and it's gonna be a war. But that's when you're truly tested, because guess what? They want you to be at a low frequency. So what is a low frequency of you not believing that you can do it again by yourself? So you're in lack. You believe that whatever is being taken from you is whatever. But while you're going through this, you got to keep funding that reality. So like I said, is you got to do stuff with strategy. Okay? But the key is in this whole situation, it is to trust that new reality. But also trust this. You healing this wound and not overgiving, now God can truly pour into you and bring the right people around you to where when you pour into them, it's going to be something that multiplies. But God got to fix this little, God got to get you to learn this lesson right now because you're being stubborn. Okay? You got to learn this lesson. So you can go through a messy divorce, or if you leave, you might go through a character assassination. Fine. Because that can only last for so long. So for me, the assassination for me was that I'm crazy, that I'm not stable, that this person helped me, that I probably treated him bad. What else? I don't know. It was like a whole bunch of stuff, and I probably don't want to know the rest. I'm pretty sure it was very bad. The amount of everyone betraying me and leaving me, he has to have said some bad stuff, and it's been like over like 2 years now. So I'm pretty sure it was really bad for me. But in that time, God took out the people who believed it, and that was kind of clearing my way. Because here's the thing: if people won't stand by you at your worst, you don't want them there when you're doing great. It is what it is. So he has to sustain that lie. But guess what? Here's the thing: if I leave, and I keep going and I rebuild myself the same way, how is that person going to keep that lie? The only way is if they keep trying to attack you. So I kept having, every time I kept rebuilding, I kept going through a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. But it's okay. That what did that show me? That showed me if my stuff is able to be destroyed, then I need to build a solid, more foundation. So what happened? I kept learning more. I kept learning more about spiritual attack. I kept learning more about spirituality. I kept learning more about myself. I kept learning about my gifts. So then when I started learning how to be smarter with business, how to make money smarter, and then I started learning how many skills I have here and how I don't have to broadcast all my skills live. I was like, let me just, I can work with different skills here, work with different skills there. And then I started becoming super independent, completely opposite of the version of me who felt like she needed that. Then I started learning how to protect myself, you know? So with you, you're going to start learning how to not pour yourself into people who don't appreciate you. And whatever you go through afterwards, you're going to see how much more, how much you didn't even have to work that hard for someone. Then you're going to start seeing how, with this situation, how you can multiply what you put aside. All I had with me was my kids and my skills and my mind and the will to keep going. I have ancestors who love me. I have spirit guides who guide me. And I have Allah. That's all I have, you know? And it was very hard. I went through a lot of depression from this. I had to heal myself from Allah. I had to learn how to self-regulate by myself, which I learned as a child. Because I went through a lot as a child to where I had to like do that myself. I had to learn that again as an adult. I had to learn how to really stand tough and strong in the midst of people doing a character assassination. I had to learn how to, not take shortcuts with receiving. So usually, like, I went through issues with having a home. I had to learn how to like not feel like I have to do things the wrong way to get a home. Like, find other ways that work so I don't compromise myself. I have to learn how to be better with money. I have to learn how to save for rainy days. I have to learn all this stuff. And you know what? I'm grateful for that situation there because it showed me how much I needed to grow. And I have to kind of like reparent myself. So, how to know if your spouse is cheating by how much you're even doing to make that person happy. You should already be the person that can provide first. Be whole within yourself. So now with me is I would love a protector of a man. I don't need that. That man should know that if he's gone or if he's doing stuff, the empire is okay. Because I got it. That our children will always be protected and okay. Despite whatever tries to come against me. That I will not be manipulated in my mind. I started learning war as well, war strategy. I became very smart. And it showed me how smart I already was. For me to be able to go through that stuff and navigate, because I was walking blind and stuff. And I could have walked into a lot of traps, you know? And this is how they get good men. This is how good men be in jail. This is how good men just end up with it, losing everything. So, how to know if your spouse is cheating, women or men. And pouring your stuff into other people is how much they have to keep you just in that. How much do you feel like you're producing for this one person? And you don't do stuff to make them happy. Your soul is what's supposed to make them happy. You guys should both be abundant together, and that is birthed from that happiness, not to keep the happiness. I don't know. I went everywhere with this, but it's therapy for me to talk about the stuff that I went through because I don't really talk about it. But I told you my stories are just data, and I'm grateful that I can make it through the things that were meant to destroy me. And I don't know, just talk to you guys about it. I don't know, you know. I'm not a perfect person, but we all deserve people who just just don't leave when, I don't know, who don't leave when we f up, And that's the wound that I had. That was a familial wound that I had. But when the time came when I really needed those people because of little legal mistakes that I made before, I had no one. And that's really scary, which is why I protect my kids from that, because just because as a child you may go through stuff, you know, or make some mistakes, it doesn't mean that you don't deserve to be protected. And me going through that allowed me to let someone come in and try to be something that I felt like I lacked. So I had a lot of healing to do. And the moment where I really just needed a place to lay my head, no one was there for me. And then the people who were there for me just treated me like crap and wanted me to hand over my kids. So they did it in such a way to where they wanted to take from me too. So no one genuinely wanted to help. It was like everyone just wanted to take, and they helped just so they could take. So high value people out there, know your value, man, because they'll try to take it all from you. They'll try to take your kids from you, take your reputation from you, take everything from you. They can only do that to the version of you who thinks it can be taken or who doesn't even know your own value. Okay? All right. Good lesson. I didn't even have to pull these tarot cards. I thought I was going to do a reading today. I might do one later. Yeah. I hope this helped whoever it helped. Bye.